Cuckoo.
Should I wait or go?
I'll wait. I'll wait for him.
You'll wait for him? Joe's in the
Sorry
window,
about that,
so don't
folks.
close the door.
Yep. I will do that.
You heard that? Joe's in the window?
Yep. I heard. All right. Let's go ahead and do. There we go. All right. Let's see if we can get into this. We're going to start this thing here pretty darn quick here. So let's go ahead and at least start from the beginning here. Let's go ahead and hide that. This thing went. How long did this fucking thing go for? Holy shit, that went for 4 minutes? Okay. All right, give me a couple minutes, folks.
Come on in. Let's go. Yep.
There you go. Good boy. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry. There we go. Oh, man. Okay.
Hello.
All
Welcome
right.
to Superpower Broadcast. Yeah, tonight's debate night. We got Uncle Thomas here. Thanks for coming on, Uncle Thomas. We debated in the past a few months ago.
Yes.
You did,
Of course.
Yeah, you did mention it back then that you wanted to debate Zionism at some point too, because if I recall correctly, we mostly were debating China the last time, right?
Yes, we were, and then we kind of got in the weeds about some stuff, and we tried to veer off it because I think that, like, all right, we're not going to listen to every minute of this, but yeah, the song is nice at least. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to talk about I'm going to hit some highlights here. And there were mistakes I made, obviously. But I'm going to go ahead and hit this. I just feel somewhat drained after this one because even though it was an hour and a half, I just felt like, oh man, there was a lot of stuff to go over with this. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Why not? Like I say, a lot of things are connected and kind of goes off the rails sometimes. So we decided, or at least I decided that, eventually
we're gonna skip over
Israel
some of
had,
this.
I think that
I didn't hear you. Oh, okay. Yeah, same here. Like I run a meme.
Revisionist Zionism, which is comes.
Okay, so here's my opening
I'll
statement.
give my position, and then we can get into the debate.
Okay. Sure. Well, I would start with this: is that we are both Gentiles and everything else like.
So my first mistake was this. Where I had a lot of these historical factors which I thought would help me to create a case. The thing is, though, is that I tried to lay out this foundation, and then I wasn't able to put up any walls and try to make it bigger. So I tried to talk about, a little bit about Theodore Herzl. I tried to talk about Haganah Ergun. And then, the thing is that I was just very stubborn on that point, admittedly. I was very stubborn, like, I'm going to stick to these points. And then I just completely gave up on that. I was going to talk more about, like, I said this in my other video, but I said I was going to talk about Baruch Goldstein. And I realized that wasn't going to work. It's like, of course he's not going to agree with that, but he's like, but what about what Hamas does or something like that? So I was like, okay. And so I just whizzed it down my leg. Like I said, it was messy. Let's go ahead and get into this. So let's hear some more. Yeah. He could acknowledge that Nakba and that the Nakba and still think Israel is based. Yeah. Well, the thing is, he hates Arabs, I think. Like I say, I don't think he's going to come into this chat anytime soon, but he hates Arabs. And I kind of got him to admit that at the end there when he said, we're going to nuke them. We're going to nuke those Arabs. Huh? You didn't mean Hamas or Hezbollah? No, the dictators. He went mask off for a moment. Just that brief moment. He went mask off. And that was as good as it was going to get. I think that was as good as it was going to get. When he did that. You know what? Let's skip past the bullshit. Let's get to the point where he actually says that, right? Because I honestly, this is, oh man, I didn't do that well, admittedly, but holy crap, this was painful. It was. I'm not prior to what people may think. Yeah, Nakba's 1967 one. Yeah. He said Syria to justify it. Yeah, exactly. So let's get into this here. I don't know where the hell we're at, but let's see.
Ethnicity, and it's also a religion, but
by fellow Jews, or do you think that it is, it's, basically they need to toe the line?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's actually a good question. I would say I'd apply the same standard as I would in Canada or the United States here and say that, whatever term you want to call it, conscientious objection, etc., it amounts to sedition. Like we have to live in the real world and in the real.
Okay, so this is where we were, like I said, there's a lot I skipped through because admittedly, I'll say this here, and maybe this is bad faith and whatnot. I can let y'all watch on your own, but I didn't answer the question about is Israel a legitimate state. I didn't answer that question. I also didn't answer, of course, about the 3,000 missiles that Hamas launched. I could have just said, well, the thing is that those rockets weren't that good, and they also felt bad because it was their holy site, Al-Aqsa Mosque. But I don't know why I didn't do that. Excuses, but this is just gonna be a short little bit here. Oh man, I'm just so drugged out. To be honest with you. It's not that I question my beliefs. I still do believe that, yeah, Israel is cringe. I just didn't know that there were hardcore Zionist types who have never been to Israel. I've never met someone this crazy, I think. I mean, I just saw a little bit of, take it with a grain of salt, but I saw Vosh debating that guy, Yaron Brook, who is an objectivist. And just saying that CEOs created everything. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck is this? So yeah, this is my last little bit of me milking this debate and everything. So I appreciate the subs, of course, and everything else. I just wanted to skip over a lot of the cringe, and we're going to try to get to the good stuff here. And the good stuff is at the end, as it always is, right? They don't save the good stuff for they save the good stuff for the beginning of the movie to keep you watching, and then they save the good stuff at the end so that you're going to stay in your seat, and say, "Wow, that end scene was great, bro." So yeah. Anywho,
real world. Now, I'm not. By the way, I'm not a supporter of conscription, except in cases where it necessitates it. Unfortunately, it's not of their own choosing, but in Israel, they have to do conscription. In an ideal world, every country would have professional soldiers, and that would be that. Israel doesn't have that luxury. In Israel, it's a matter of national security. It's a matter of the existence of the state, which is paramount. I mean, because any sort of freedoms that you could give to different people would all be gone if Israel were to be wiped out. Those people would be killed and forced into the Mediterranean to die, just as all the other Jews, if the Palestinians had their way. So no, you don't get to basically get out a conscription free card if you're literally in Israel. It's not their fault, but no,
this is something that was promised to them in 1948. This is something that was promised to them by David Ben-Gurion. Do you think that's wrong?
Yeah, but the material circumstances changed almost immediately. Israel has been ganged up on multiple times. And
another interesting fact, I was doing some reading. Yeah, fun fact, 1,200 exploded Israeli munitions were found in Gaza. Imagine how many were among the exploded ones. Yeah. I wonder. The thing is, man, what I could have said too is that with this Yamana party, because I did do some more reading about this, and I did a video over it. Yamana party has a lot of religious Zionists with it. I imagine some of which are Haredi who get money from the state of Israel. Like I say, so I could have brought that up as well. It probably wouldn't have been a good point, but let's continue.
To this day, they face mortal enemies that seek not just to occupy them and enslave them, but to outright kill them and take their land. And this is something where Israel has a choice to make. And I understand that the IDF is very powerful, and the IDF is a very capable force of its own. But even still, the IDF has to do.
What was going through my head on this is why, if they were such a capable force, why is it that you don't see them directly in Iraq or Afghanistan or these other places? If they're that damn good, why aren't they, that's the whole thing. They seem to only, like I say, if they're so professional, why do they need all this stuff? But yeah. Yamana, yes. Yamana is Bennett. Yep, Neftali Bennett. Absolutely. And that's arguably I think Bennett is going to be the HNIC. And for those, look that up. I don't feel like saying the N word tonight, but Bennett is going to be the new Israeli PM, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but this center party or the centrist party, that's going to be dropped like a hot potato. The Arab Israeli party, that is going to be dropped as well. I think that there are probably some backroom deals for money or for some projects or something. But Bennett is the new guy. In my opinion, yeah. Bennett is a warlord. He is. He absolutely is. He is worse, arguably, than Netanyahu. Netanyahu could at least put on, a fake face about it, but Bennett is, yeah, I mean, he is fully admitted. It's like, yeah, I've killed plenty of Arabs in my life. We need to kill more, yeah. He opened our ass wide in the West Bank, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, he was the leader of he was part of like a political or like a consultation group or something like that for the West Bank. Yeah. He was there as he was right there next to Netanyahu. This is just politics 101, really. It's just like, yeah, it's like, hey, thanks for helping me out, buddy. But guess what? It's my turn now. It's my turn to be in charge. So, you know, there's no loyalty in politics. There's no loyalty in a lot of shit. So, oh man.
Conscription. And in my view, I don't think it's necessarily fair. I just don't. And I believe that the national interest is paramount.
So let's break this down further, because you say, should the Jews, control the land? Let's ask a more basic question. It is their land, right? I'm being very Wignat here, but very white supremacist. But let's ask this though: are Jews a race or is it a religion? In your
it's
okay. And like I said, I know that we're
so he did ask this question a number of times, and I could have just said, yeah, for right now, it is their land. I could have said that. I was just very stubborn. I didn't feel like answering that question, so I just plowed right through with my points regardless. I guess it was more, like I say, I think what I treated it more as is a presentation more than as a debate. And that was a big failure. That was a big L, obviously. But I think that that's what occurred. Stepping towards the anti-theist, but let's.
Yeah, it's an ethnicity and it's also a religion. But for all intents and purposes here, we can think of it as an ethnicity, because though the people, the barbarians that would come and execute all the Jews, they're not going to ask if you're atheist or if you're Reform or if you're Orthodox. They're going to see if you're Jewish, and if you're Jewish, they're going to kill you and your family. So if in the material...
This is fear-mongering. This is absolute fear-mongering with this guy. This is pretty much, like I said, this would come out of the fascist mouth, basically. It's like just outright like, yeah, they're going to kill you and your family. You need to be prepared, It's just like, oh, man. Oh, boy. I mean, oh, man, just nuts.
Reality of what is taking place in that area. You can call it the Holy Land, you can call it whatever you want. That area of Israel and what is referred to as Palestine, that area, what matters is your ethnicity here. And so I'm talking in terms of ethnicity, because all those distinctions don't matter. And spoiler alert to anybody watching right now, if you are Jewish, but you're anti-Zionist, I got news. When they come to murder you, they're not going to give you brownie points. You're going to the same chambers as the other Jews would go. So be a Zionist. I'm not Jewish.
Oh, wow. See, the thing is, yeah, this is, man, imagine it's like, see, the thing is that it's interesting, of course, they spent like a couple hours talking about Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal. And I don't particularly agree with everything that comes from the gray zone. But the thing is, though, they're both Jewish. So I guess that they would end up in, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to let him say it. But yeah, accidentally deleted 1,200 munitions message. Yeah, it came through on stream, though, so I guess it will be seen anyways. Yeah, it's all good. I did see that, though. Yeah, accidentally deleted. Oh, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's interesting, of course, how, all these rockets were sent out and then nothing. Yeah. Oh, boy. I'm skipping to the good stuff, folks. I'm skipping to the good stuff because there were a lot of mistakes I made. And I'm going to let those speak for themselves. I've talked about them quite a bit. I decided I'm not going to do a part 2. I put another video that I'm going to send out tomorrow, I think, that kind of explains it. But yeah, I've had my fill of superpowered broadcasting. I'm just going to leave it here and just say, yeah, he can say I lost. That's fine. I'm not going to sit here and argue with him. What I will say is that he kind of, he went mask off when just like, yeah, destroy the Arabs. And it's just like, I don't know, man. But yeah, let's continue on. Let's continue forward.
Jewish and I'm a Zionist. So Zionism or GTFO. That's my attitude.
Okay. Because the thing is, like I say, let's get into this then. So, what do you think of the legacy of Rabbi Meir Kahane and his belief that all Arabs should be kicked out of Israel? They should have, like I say, all the conspiracy theories about the Greater Israel Project. He believed all of that. Yeah, so I started on this, and I almost went to Baruch Goldstein, of course, who targeted Arabs in his mass shooting. But I decided not to go there, and I backed off it. I probably should have, but I felt like it was kind of bad taste. But the thing is that he says all this stuff about, oh, well, Arabs are going to come in and kill you, this and that, and so that's why I decided to bring up the Meir Kahane stuff. That's how I feel anyway. Oh shit! There we go. He also believed that you cannot have democracy and Zionism at the same time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's a lot to dissect there. On the point about democracy and Zionism, that kind of goes back to what Reese and I were talking about, which is that I agree with Reese, which is that if you were to immediately just subsume Palestine right now into Israel, you couldn't have it work at the moment because Jews would be outnumbered, and you'd have the circumstances set up for another round of pogroms and persecution. So
this is literally like an alt-right sort of talking point, in my opinion. This is sort of like basic bitch alt-right type of shit. Like, they're going to outnumber us in this many years. But like I said, this is why people become Wignats, because of this sort of talk where it's like, it's okay here, but it's not okay there. This is how people become Wignats. This is how they become it to a certain degree. But that's my opinion.
So for me, I look at it and I say, we can't do it on a racial basis because there are plenty of Arabs out there that are great, enlightened people. But that
enlightened, oh boy, what I should have pressed him on. What does that mean by being enlightened? But I just didn't think about it.
There are a lot of Arabs in that part of the world, specifically in Palestine, where they've been. Yeah, so what you do is what I advocate, which is military administration.
Okay, here we go. Military administration. Here we go.
So the IDF goes into the West Bank, goes into Gaza, eliminates Hamas, dismantles Fatah, and establishes military administration, followed by perhaps decades, if not longer, of basically de-radicalization of the population. And
this is basically, like military rule here. This is This is basically military rule over this area, so that they can, control this area. They're gonna put in. This is no different than what the British did. But apparently, the British were authoritarians when they did it. But it's okay when the IDF does it because it's a defense of Jews. I mean, tell me where I'm wrong, chat. I know that there's only 3 people here. That's okay. But I'm just like, huh? Are you really going to justify that? All right.
Eventual incorporation into Israel with equal rights, where you could eventually down the road have Jews and Arabs living in harmony under a secular system in which their race is not the primary determinant of whether you're good or bad, right? That you're evaluated on your own character.
That sounds very similar to what people accuse the Chinese of doing in Xinjiang. That sounds so familiar. So, are you a based China man now? Are you a based Communist Party of China?
I don't support concentration camps. I don't support forced sterilization, and I don't support communism. I don't support indoctrinating anybody into communism. And so,
oh boy, they're indoctrinating them into Zionism. The thing is that I thought about this, and I said this in my other video, but it was kind of crapola. But the thing is, though, is that what Palestinians will learn, and what, let's put it this way, then Arabs will learn, is that they will learn how to game the system and say, yes, I'm reformed. I believe in Zionism. I'm not going to hurt Israelis, this and that. And they'll find a way to get out. And they're going to be more radicalized, in my opinion. Like I say,
I don't know. This is where the debate that I have with capital punishment, but that's my view. Yeah, the idea physically cannot do it. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Junta is stable. Exactly. Yeah. Without Fatah, military rule collapses in the West Bank, and IDF can't win ground battles. Yeah, that's true. And that has been proven. That has been proven because what was it, like maybe hundreds of Hezbollah soldiers were able to BTFO the IDF. Yeah, the IDF, like I say, is a fairly weak force. That's why it stays within Israel. It doesn't have the strength to go out like the U.S. military and, reconnoiter areas, this and that. They just don't have that ability. They don't, in my opinion. But correct me where I'm wrong.
For me, and again, you could still be Muslim in this example. The difference is you have to get rid of the anti-Semitism somehow, and that's the de-radicalization process. The fact of the matter,
the IDF would probably rather call in like the ADL to come help them, and have people that would rat each other out, this and that, than the IDF to do. The IDF would not do this. I'm telling you right now. Once again, this is kind of the mistake of a lot of folks who think that the military are just, peacekeepers, this and that. They don't teach peacekeeping. At least when I went to basic back in 2005. That's been a long time. That's 16 years ago. But it's like, they don't, as far as I know, they don't really teach that type of shit in basic training. They don't really teach that in OCS. They don't do that. They don't teach you conflict management or any of these other type of things. So it's like, they just don't. So that's why you have these soldiers who just get frustrated, and you have massacres, just that, because they teach them to kill. What makes the green grass grow? Blood, blood, bright red blood. Maybe I'm kind of becoming one of these ACAB folks, but it's like, what the fuck is this shit about? Yeah. They already tried to indoctrinate on some folks, but then some Israeli decided to kill 50-something people for fun. Oh, man. See? So it all fell apart. Yep. Oh, man. When was that? Like in the 70s or 80s? Get back to me. It's okay. No big rush. Let's go ahead and we're getting to the good stuff. To me, this is the only sort of victory that I'll claim. The rest, I'll say I wasn't that good at. And, I didn't answer his basic questions, everything else. But I would say this is the mask off moment is coming. So let's continue.
Matter is that Gaza and Palestine existing as they are, refusing to acknowledge the West Bank, refusing to acknowledge Israel's right to existence. I mean, you have to secure your existence, and the best way to do that is to eliminate Hamas, for example.
It's too easy.
And so,
too easy. Too easy. Secure their existence? Bad choice of words, man.
So to draw a comparison to what's happening
we must secure the existence of our people?
Yeah, no, that's the thing is to draw a comparison to
we must secure the existence of our people.
No, I don't think you get it.
It's too easy. I'm sorry. I took the bait. It's so easy. Oh, in the 50s. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. For reference, it was called the Kafir Qasim Massacre. Oh, okay. Let me... Kafir Qasim Massacre. Oh, wow. Let's take a look at this here. Just in the sense of laziness, we're going to do this here. Oh, 1956. Okay. Okay. Israeli Arab village of Kafir Qasim, situated on the Green Line at that time. De facto border between Israel and the Jordanian West Bank. Carried out by the Israel Border Police, Magav, who killed Arab civilians returning from work during a curfew of which they were unaware, imposed earlier in the day on the eve of the Sinai War. In total, 48 people died, of which 19 were men, 6 were women, and 23 children aged 8 to 17. Arab sources usually give the death... Oh, wow. Holy shit. I wish I knew about this beforehand. But I really don't want to talk to him again. I really don't. I'm going to get to the good stuff at the end here, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about what I've seen from him, what's going on, and kind of go from there. But yeah. let's see. Shimon Peres formally apologized for the massacre. Like I said, it takes so long for Israel to apologize for anything, too. You know, when they accidentally killed somebody when they were in Switzerland, I believe. It was a guy that looked like one of the bombers of the at the Munich Olympics. They killed this guy, and it was part of like this Mossad team to grab this guy, an extraction team, I guess you could say. And there was this one woman. She said, "I don't feel right about this," and they're just like, "Ah, shut the fuck up," this and that, because she was new, and because of that, they killed somebody. I could have brought that up too. I just. I was too stubborn. I had these certain amount of points. Yeah. Wow. Military censor imposed a total ban on newspaper reportage on the massacre. Wow. Nonetheless, the news of the incident leaked out after communist Knesset members Toby. I'm not trying to be funny. Yeah. And Meyer Vilner managed to enter the village 2 weeks later and investigate the rumors. However, it took 2 months of lobbying by them and the press before the government lifted the media blackout imposed by David Ben-Gurion. Oh, boy. And once again, Yitzhak Ben-Zvi. Oh, man. Yeah, Yitzhak Ben-Zvi is another interesting character that I need to learn more about. Incredible. Yeah. Oh, Tawfiq is also in ILAP. Oh, okay. Exactly. Yeah. Curfew was placed because Israel feared the Arabs would support Nasser despite all the indoctrination. Also, they kill to pay less for a few cents. The killer had to pay less than a few cents compensation. Yeah. Tawfiq is also in Arab. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Amazing. Wow, look at all these massacres here. You got the Sabra and Shatila massacre, mostly Palestinians and Lebanese Shiites. The Khan Yunis massacre, the Rafah massacre. This is fear mongering, basically. That this guy is, and apparently it's all just comes out of nowhere, right? All this hatred that they have, this anti-Semitism, it all just comes out of nowhere. It just like I said. Maybe I'm sounding like a wignat when I say this, but it just comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? The Kafir Qasim massacre, the Kibia massacre. These all come out of nowhere. They all come out of nowhere. Let's see, a list of massacres in Israel. Ooh, man. So, oh, wow. Here we go. June 8, 2016. 4 civilians killed. Let's see here. A responsible party, unknown Arabs, Israel Border Police, Popular Front, of Liberation of Palestine. Okay. Let's see what we got here. 3 members of the Japanese Red Army. Oh, I remember this. Okay. This is the chick that was. Oh, okay. Ami Popper, Israeli civilian. Bar Mitzvah massacre. Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades. Hamas. Yeah. Oh, man. Wild stuff. Wild stuff, man. Crazy.
I'm not a fan of the CCP.
Oh, yeah.
I would literally, and I've said it before, I would side with the Mujahideen over the CCP. The CCP is a mortal enemy of America.
Oh, boy. We did. I could have said that too. We did support the Mujahideen over. The thing is that Mujahideen, to a certain degree, apart from, like I say, we gave support to most of them, apart from one group of Mujahideen. And I remember saying this, I think, in the other debate. Or maybe it was on, no, it was on Twitter. Yeah. There was this one group that did not have any connection, and they used captured Russian or Soviet weapons to take them down. And they were the ones that weren't, that didn't join, Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, this and that. But of course,
they're an existential threat, and they have to be neutralized. And anybody that we can work with over there, I'll take it. I want to destroy the CCP. So guilty as charged.
I was going to wait, but I'm going to get into this now. The thing is that he has had so many debates with so-called his group of hawks and his neocon friends. The thing is that he's so afraid of them being called racist. And yet, arguably, I mean, I'm going to sound more like a bread tuber here, but the thing is, though, is that he dog whistles so much about Arabs, this and that, and then will say stuff like secure the existence, that he's so obvious. But then he's like, well, I don't want racism, though. And it's just, I don't know. It's going to be funny when bigger names actually get to notice this guy. Yeah. It's not going to be pretty, yeah. We support the Mujahideen due to the Afghan government being led by pro-Soviet PDPA. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And people like Najibullah, who was in control of Afghanistan at that time under the Soviet, auspices, I guess you could say.
Sure. So.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to just point this out as a side note here, but I want to, this is just very, like I say, work with whoever has painted themselves into a background. Okay, this is just pointless stuff. This is just me showing off for no reason. It's just, that was crap. And I did a little bit of reading, so I take it with a grain of salt, but the party, I'm trying to think of the name now. I just want to make sure here. Let's see here. So you had the party, the Yesh Atid party, which is the leader of the centrist party, and you also had the party Yamana. So Yamana is led by this guy Naftali Bennett, who was in the IDF and everything else. Now he said, is that Gaza is broken up into three, into A, B, C. I believe this goes back to I think the Helsinki Accords. I could be wrong, in the 1970s. So when you say that, if they gave the land to Gaza, now things change when, governments take over and when new governments take over. I was wrong about this point, to be honest with you. I will take credit for it. I was wrong about this. It was a different party. I was reading about a lot of different parties in Israel, and I got it mixed up. So that's an L on my part. There were other L's to take, but I'm just skipping around. Wasn't ABC? I think you're correct. You are correct. I think it is Oslo. Yeah. So I was mistaken about that. Yeah, it is the Oslo Accords. Yeah. West Bank areas in Oslo. Yeah. You are correct. I just Yeah, ABC. Yep. You're right. Yep, you are correct, sir. Yep. We still have it in the West Bank. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I did yeah, so this was this was a major L on my part to say that it was Helsinki and not the Oslo. But yeah. But that's the map of it, this and that. I could have brought up so many other things, but I felt that I don't know. I think part of it was he's just like, well, okay, I've debated this guy before. Why don't we get into it? Maybe he couldn't find anybody, this and that, so he was just like, all right, let's do it. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. I'm making excuses at this point. But yeah, it was, is that they would give 40% of that land because it originally belonged to Egypt. They say that they would give that land back to Egypt. Now, I doubt that would occur, but that is what Yamana, at least in their party program, has said, that they would give that land back to Egypt. And so that's not true. It's not true. I got it mixed up. So it's a very complicated thing. Like I say, so there's a lot of complications, but at least that's what I read. Maybe I could be wrong, but yeah.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily.
If they gave the land back to.
Okay, let me see here. So West Bank, use of Area C. Let's see here. 99% of which is excluded from Palestinian use, contains most of the West Bank's natural resources and open spaces. Oh, that's why. Oh, makes sense. That's why it's lawless. Okay, because most of the good stuff is there to mine and everything. Okay. Areas defined as within settler municipal boundaries where permits for development are denied to Palestinians. The World Bank estimates that the effects have been a cause to a potential loss of $14 billion of revenue for the Palestinian economy. Wow. Palestinians cannot build in Area C, at least according to this. This is wiki, I know. Cringe, I know. Well, there you go. Huh. Makes sense. Egypt.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. I mean, it really depends. They gave the Sinai back to Egypt, and it didn't necessarily turn out.
Okay, I should have really hit hard on this. Where he's like, gave the Egyptians back. No, the Egyptians kicked the ass of the IDF. They kicked their ass, kicked them out completely. And they lost momentum by about, I think, August 13th, I want to say. I think it was like August 13th. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but yeah. I think it's, if I'm thinking right. Ramadan War. Yeah. Coalition of Arab states, Egypt and Syria against Israel. The war took place mostly in the Sinai and the Golan. Yeah, basically, like I say, the Egyptians ran through. They prepared for years, to get that area back. And that, when they crossed over and they retook the Suez Canal, when that happened, they kept going, like I say. So, like I said, this was an immense victory for, Sadat declared that Egypt was prepared to sacrifice 1 million Egyptian soldiers to recover its lost territory. Political generals who had been, in large part, been responsible for the rout in 1967 were replaced with competent ones. Yeah, met in Oslo, okay. The détente. But yeah, war objectives. Initial war objective was to use military to seize a limited amount of Israeli-occupied Sinai on the, So they got their ass whooped, and I should have pushed harder on that. I should have pushed harder, yeah. They did, yeah. But then fuck Syria over. Yeah. It sounds like what they did is that they kind of twiddled their thumbs for a bit, and then they lost momentum. There's a lot of... you know what? I'm not even going to go there. What I'm going to say is that, Egypt did BTFO the IDF in 1973. And, they were lazy. The IDF was lazy. They got pushed back, and Egypt retook that land, which was the primary objective. So,
be that much of a problem. I think that Israel has, of course, a long track record of offering up territory in exchange for peace. I mean, it really...
Oh, give me a break. Oh, man. I really should have pushed hard. I should have pushed much harder on this point.
It goes to the two contrasting natures between, the Jewish people in Israel that simply just want to be left alone and secure peace, but they'll do everything that they can to defend themselves. And if that means getting nuclear weapons, they'll do that too. And versus
this guy is obsessed with nukes, by the way. Like I say, I know that he's a neocon and he's made a thing of course about nukes, but he really goes off here at the end.
Barbarians that would go after their civilian population and refuse to acknowledge their right to even exist.
Barbarians.
Yes.
Barbarians?
Would you not regard Hamas? Would you not? I'm specifically talking about Hamas here. Would you not?
Yeah. This is the point where I decide. Yeah, he calls them barbarians, and it's just like, really, Arabs are barbarians? I mean, like I say, this is something I wanted to bring up. Like, this is supposed to be a liberal guy who supports liberal values, and then he's like, well, Hamas and Hezbollah. He let it. Like I said, maybe this was somewhat like, maybe like somewhere in the back of my mind, like my id or something like that. This is how I tricked him to go mask off, but I don't know. Like I said. Israeli nukes are useless. I have no idea, but I will take your word for it.
not regard?
Our air,
Would you not regard firing 4,000 rockets at civilians and killing 12 of them in 11 days? Would you not regard that as barbarism? Because if it weren't for the Iron Dome, hundreds of Israelis would have
It's a
died
war.
from it.
Yeah. Okay. This is another crap point. I basically just took his point and I abandoned my own. And then I just said, we talked earlier about the King David Hotel bombing. And he said, well, it's war. It's okay because they had to, secure victory, this and that. And for me, I gave in and just said, okay, I'm going to use his point then. Instead of making the moral choice and just saying, yes, it is bad. But I don't know. I was being stubborn. So, yeah.
It's war, but
I
the
would
problem
say that
is
it's war. You also
Can't use them on Gaza because they'll get fucked. Yeah. Can't use them on South Lebanon because they'll also get fucked. Can't use them on Beirut because they lost a phalanges. They'll lose the phalanges support. Oh, really? Huh. Makes sense.
had
Israel
plenty of rockets
targets.
that were launched from Lebanon as well.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of a difference between war, where you give the civilians an hour to get out and then you hit a military target like Israel does, versus war, where you're specifically trying to kill civilians like Hamas does. You know what Hamas's collateral damage is? That's when they accidentally hit a military target, because it doesn't have the same heart-wrenching factor to it. They're aiming to kill civilians. They're disappointed if it doesn't hit civilians. That is barbarism. How can we not
We've talked about
them?
Hamas quite a bit.
Well, that's because
when did
they
Hamas
refuse
start?
to
Let's get into that.
acknowledge Israel's right to exist.
Yeah.
And can
Okay. This is kind of a cheap point. Sorry, I'm going to double check here. Yeah, it's all crap. Okay. My point on this was, what I was going to try to do is to say, Hamas, like I said, they see Hamas as some mortal enemy. If it started in 1987, where did this, like I say, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the same thing of what I was trying to point out with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, now correct me where I'm wrong, everybody, but Hezbollah came about because they entered, because the IDF came into southern Lebanon to fight the PLO, right? Because that's where they were hiding out. Because of that, Hezbollah started in 1982 under, Nasrallah's father. So the thing is, he didn't want to admit that, and I was trying to bring this up at the end here, but they create their own enemies. They create their own enemies. So I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion, but yeah. Hezbollah origin is true. Okay, I appreciate that. I do remember that from reading a little bit from some books here, but yeah, Hezbollah didn't just come out of nowhere. It was a reaction to, the defense of the country of Lebanon. Like I say, I know it's a complicated issue. Oh, his father is in the SSNP. Oh, okay, not Nasrallah's father. Oh, okay, I got it mixed up. Okay, I appreciate that. But yeah, like I say, I understand it's a very complicated thing. And an American who can barely tell the difference between Texas and Oklahoma really shouldn't. I got to be careful about what I say, but yeah.
continue to target Jews on the simple basis of their Jewishness. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Let's do this. When did Hamas start? When did it occur? I believe it's in the 1960s.
Like in the 90s. So regardless of what we talk about tonight, if we're going to do the war,
Okay.
like straight up 100%.
This is okay. He's going to go off on this. He's going to go off. This is okay. Let's go ahead and hear this.
In all earnestness, you could objectively kick my ass to the point where all my patrons don't support me anymore. I wind up shutting down the channel because it's so embarrassing to me. And my last video is saying, like, look, Uncle Thomas cucked me. He won. He's right about everything. And that's that on this specific issue. And regardless of that, if that were to happen, the fact of the matter remains that war is war. Well, guess what? Israel has 400 nuclear weapons. And if you ever seriously
400, I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that. But he goes mask off. Let's go ahead and hear this.
try to come and take away Jewish sovereignty and you fuck around, Israel will nuke the shit out of you. Israel's not going anywhere ever. And so that's the reality. So regardless of what we talk about tonight, if we're going to do the war is war thing, they will fuck you up with nukes if you try to screw with them. And you can't do anything about it. So it's as simple as that.
And
Long live
then
Israel.
the UN,
Peace
and then the
free.
UN. This was kind of okay. Once again, we were talking about the UN earlier as well. This was a point where, like I say, we both agreed that the UN was kind of cringe, and then I used it. It wasn't the best point. It wasn't. Like I say, I'm going to take it for what it is. I just, Lord have mercy. That's all I can really say. What further sanctions, I imagine.
Yeah, well,
and then of course
I guess that'll make you feel better
from the United
after you got nuked. I guess some sanctions are going to make you feel better after you got nuked. The point is that Israel will never be destroyed. Israel will do everything necessary to secure its existence. And regardless of my view, regardless of your view, that will not change. And that is back.
Okay, this was okay. That was a bad, that was just baiting. That was baiting. That was very childish. Even I have to say, that was childish for me to be like, let's go ahead and bring this up again. Okay, let's continue.
And that is backed up by thermonuclear energy. And you fuck around, you will find out. They're dead serious. They would fucking use those nukes if the Arabs tried to truly bury them. They would do it. You're never getting rid of Israel. Anyway, we're coming up on the 90.
Yep. So he said, if the Arabs tried to do that, because he was trying, like I said, he said before, no, not Arabs. I meant Hamas. So this is the only real victory I think I can claim, is by him kind of going mask off and just saying Arabs. I think that's my view anyway, but take it for what it is.
We're coming up on the 90-minute mark, so this is the point where I want to go to closer.
Yeah, okay. UN point could be true if they strike Damascus, since you have so many countries interested in Damascus at the moment. Yeah. Syrian Arabs. Okay, no problem.
Remarks. So you can have a few minutes to make your final points, but we'll have to schedule another debate because otherwise this go on all night. So.
All right. See, the thing is that you let it kind of slip there at the end, where you didn't say Hamas, you didn't say Hezbollah, you said the Arabs.
Well, yeah, so I'm including Syria.
I guess it is Arabs that are true intervention.
No, but it's the Arab dictatorships. I'm including.
See, now he's, in my opinion, now he's being like, well, the Arab dictatorships. So I don't know. I'll count that as a small victory. That's about all I can get. But I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah, that's where he says, yeah.
Jordan, I'm including Syria. Any of these powers can gang up with Palestine as they've done in the past. Now, Jordan has not been in that direction lately. However, the problem is there's a long track record of different states, as well as going beyond Arabs too. You look at Iran as being a number one threat recently in terms of their coordination with.
I mean, I was going to try to point out with Jordan, the big upsets in the royal family with the prince and all that business. I was going to try to bring that up. Once again, just kind of weak. Like I say, my performance wasn't brilliant, admittedly, but I think I'll take this as a learning experience. That's how I'm going to see it.
With Hezbollah and Hamas and everything, the point is these dictatorships, they are not above ganging up on Israel. And my point is, regardless of what the outcome of our debate is here tonight, if we're going to make the war is war argument, understand a true black pill here. No matter what, Israel will do anything in its power to stay alive, and that includes the use of nuclear weapons. So you're never getting rid of Israel. So my side objectively is winning in the material state of things right now. and all that your side could do is bitch on social media about it and go to protests and chant slogans, which is cute, but you're not going to change that reality.
Well, the thing is that they could do more than that, which is once this occurs, that you have people like Elon Omar. You can say what you will, but
Okay, this is once again, this is kind of cowardly in my opinion. Now that I look back on it, in the sense I could have just been like, I just wanted to make a point to win. And I think that I need to learn that you shouldn't just back down and just be like, I just want to win. So I'm going to bring up Elon Omar, somebody I know very little about that I don't even fully agree with, but I'm going to use it as a point against him. So yeah, like I said, it's not a good point. I'm trying to do some actual self-reflection and a little bit of self-criticism. I'm trying here.
she goes back
Let's
and
go.
forth. They could say, well, we need to stop giving parts for those F-15s. We need to stop doing that. We need to
Yeah,
stop
no, that's
providing
BDS stuff.
these boots. We need to stop providing all those things.
Yeah, that's BDS. I'm against BDS. I've always
Well, I don't think that's necessarily. Well, I mean, some people may think that's BDS, but I also think that could be just maybe it's not worth the cost. But I don't know.
regarded BDS
No.
as a seditious thing. So because you're undermining your ally.
So-
Like there's Ilhan Omar is a good example to bring up, by the way, because she specifically said on sanctions that sanctions were economic warfare. She actually used the term warfare to describe sanctions when it was with regard to Iran. Yet on Israel, she supports them. So she admits to wanting to wage war against America's top ally. Now, that to me is sedition. Now, legally, is it sedition? No, because she's not arguing to wage a war on the American government. But I would argue on a moral level, arguing for a war against your allies is tantamount to arguing for a war against your own government, because without your allies, you are nothing. And
Okay, sorry. I'll do that. Okay.
and Israel is a key component to American and broader Western national security. And so in that regard, she is a column and
Israel is a Jewish state.
Yeah, well, yes.
Let me
absolutely.
finish
And
up
it's
on
also
what-
an American, and it's also an American ally. It's like a key American ally in the world. Would you not doubt that? I hear your side refer to them as that they're with the Americans, right? So
Well, Israel is also working with China as well. We talked about this in our other debate. They are getting support in terms of trains as well. Like I say,
This was a kind of a weak point. I brought this up before. I felt like, once again, this is another point where it's like, I'm going to try to win. So I'm going to use to say that, China is going to be the new sugar daddy of Israel. It's kind of weak. But yeah, let's continue. We're almost done.
China, I'll put it this way: is China will play all the sides, same way as the United States does. China will make deals with Iran, and then we'll say, "Hey, Israel, would you like to buy some trains from us?" So this is the classic thing. China is going to, eventually take the place of the U.S. Israel does not give a shit about the U.S.
Well,
And,
that's
and
because
even
the
you
US
said
has
this in our last debate, where it's like Israel is going to do what it's going to do, and that's
Yeah,
like I
but
said,
that's
this
because-
is absolute nonsense to
that's
say.
because
Oh well,
that's
they
because no, but that's because America's been a terrible ally recently. Obama and Biden have.
Okay. So the thing is that, okay, so he also brought up, he said, well, George W. Bush was better. And that's the president that he chose. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. There we go.
Even your own side would regard him as an ally, like an evil ally with Israel, right? So George Bush. So anyway, we got to
thing
wrap
is, I
up
would
this
say
debate,
this,
otherwise
is
we'll be
that-
here all night.
Yeah.
Right? So
Israel is
if you got
changing-
your closing
Yeah.
remarks,
Okay. I'll finish. I'll finish up with this. The future of Israel is that Israel will become more of a Jewish state and less of a democracy. I'll even agree with you on this point. Yeah, Israel's not going anywhere, but Israel will start to embrace its actual Jewishness more.
Okay. What I'm referring to with this is more of what a guy named Rudy Rockman said. So this guy Rudy Rockman, kind of a grifter. He's kind of like he's kind of like an Israeli version of Steven Crowder. He'll be like, debate me on Israel, bro. And so he'll go to like APAC meeting or outside of APAC meetings and stuff like that. And he recently did one where he was outside the Wailing Wall, and he was talking to say, basically, well, Israel today wants to reclaim more of its Jewishness and wants to have more autarky, this and that, autarky. So I feel like that's, how it's going to go. And I also read a little bit, of course, that, some Reform Jews are taking in or embracing some aspects of Haredi culture, more Orthodox Jewish culture. So I feel like that's the future, at least in my opinion. But yeah, what's going on? Hello, 99. How are you? Last time Israel did a major deal with China, the U.S. then forced them to cancel it. I think even made some threats. Yeah, you're probably correct on it. Well, you are. So it wasn't a brilliant. Like I say, now that I've listened to it over, at least a little bit of it, because I really didn't do a good job, but it did wear me down a bit, and I was very, like I say, I went towards the emotion, this and that, and went more towards the quick little stabs instead of actually trying to defeat somebody. I was trying to do little stabs and trying to do like 1,000 cuts type of thing. It didn't really work that well, yeah. I don't either. I do not either, but somebody does, I guess. I think that just comes with, how you're raised, this and that. But yeah, we're almost done. Don't worry.
I was going to say this earlier, but I'll say it here, is that basically the Hasidic community and the Haredi community are growing in Israel. And I think that this will, like I say, who knows what this will occur in, but I do believe that Jewishness will override Zionism and override democracy. I think that, like I say, if I'm getting this correct, is that the idea of why you support Israel is because they are a democracy. It could have easily become more of a theocracy in some ways. And I do think that to a point, that is what's going to occur more and more. We see this even with Naftali Bennett, is that he has made deals with the the Haredi community and with those types of parties. So I think that this is what's going to occur.
Now, to be honest with you, I did do some more reading, and those parties later kind of broke off of Yamina and went towards a different thing. But I think that there's kind of at least some connections there. I imagine there's some back channels, but so this is kind of a half truth, I guess, to be honest.
In the future, this idea that Israel cares about democracy or whatever the case may be. No, if you want to say this, this is really what I should have started with. But you know what? It happens. If Israel is a Jewish state,
and he's about
to practice Judaism, and you can say and holler all you want to that religion should go away, this and that. Ultimately, Israel, if it is a Jewish state, it will become more supporting of that. And we've even seen with reformist Jews that they have started to.
I did bring it up.
Take in the traditional roles of groups like the Haredi, this and that. And I think that this is what's going to occur more. And that is the real future. And that is how how Zionism is going to disappear, and you're going to have more of an inclusive culture. The thing is, and here's another point.
This was kind of somewhat SJW-esque. I'll admit once again is that I kind of took this from Jason Unruh a little bit. So I plagiarized his point. Take it for what it is. I don't know.
And I'll finish it up after this. Is groups like, as you say, Hamas started in 1987. Hezbollah started in 1982, partly due to the another invasion into Lebanon. The thing is that Israel, to a point, creates its own enemies. Is it where was the resistance that occurred from 1948 all the way through the 1980s? There were other groups. Yeah, there was Yasser Arafat, this and that. There was the PFLP as well. And there were, the bombers and everything else like that. But the thing is, it sounds like, to a point, Israel creates its own enemies. If they had reached out better, this and that, I'm sure people will say, And once again, it's interesting.
This is kind of a weak point. I'm not sure about that. This is all just conjecture. This is all assumption by me. There's nothing that backs this up.
I will read this one comment of Microsoft's own. Stalin was
Hold on, I'm
basically,
almost done.
actually, Stalin supported the creation of Israel. He was part of the UN coalition who said, yeah, we should do that because he assumed that people like Abba Kovner, who was a Zionist but also was a Marxist, was going to, in their party, Mapam, which was the opposite of Mapai, which was more of a social democratic party that took over. And of course, David Ben-Gurion led that. But that's the truth, though, and largely the Soviet Union supported Israel up until the 1967 war. This is the same case with a lot of, communist countries. They supported Israel up until the 6-Day War. After that, then things changed. So I think that's all I have to say. Maybe that's just a continuation, but I'll leave it there. I think I'm done.
Yeah. So I would say basically, primarily is as far as Israel goes, what matters and what is at stake here in terms of the perception is the.
I was reading something, I think, from an Israeli paper that was saying that, the drafting of the Orthodox, of the Haredi community, was an aspect of why they went through so many recounts for the election. So I think that is an aspect. I'm not sure how big necessarily that was compared to other issues, but I think that was definitely an issue that comes about. But yeah. First post-Nakba resistance to actually fight from within Palestine. Oh, okay. Theory I've heard is the entire Palestine invasion / Hamas thing was a distraction so Bibi could remain in power. Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Seeing the ADO using essentially the same arguments, alt-right / Wignite types, making its defense of Israel's policies with regard to its treatment of Arabs. Yeah, he kind of made those points too. And I tried to call it out the best I could. I'm just like, yeah, very much so, though.
The ethnicity component, that those agents that want to wipe out the Jews, they don't just want to wipe out religious Jews, they want to wipe out all Jews. And they want to establish total control over that area. And as I've noted on numerous occasions here, Israel has a right to exist. Long live Israel, based and free from the river to the sea. So thank you for watching, everybody, and have a good night.
Yep. He cut it off before I said free Palestine, but that was kind of a meme. So that was the end of that debate. This could have been like 2.5 hours long. My debate performance was not brilliant, admittedly. Now, let me go ahead and come closer to the mic. That way I don't... my dad just went to sleep, so I'll try to keep it low. But my performance was not brilliant. I decided I'm going to leave it alone. There's going to be no part 2. I decided, let's not do that. There are points that were going through my head. It's like I could have brought up this, brought up that. And now I'm just like, okay, we're going to let that go. I'm just going to keep on just making the content that I've been making and just do it that way. That's much easier. Radicals are gaining prominence is due to Israel's harsh treatment. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, that could have been way more vicious. Yeah, like I say, I wasn't sure how nasty and how hard to go because I didn't feel 100% confident. I think a lot of this came from confidence, I think, and that I just wasn't fully... I had my points. Part of it was just stubbornness, where I was just like, I'm going to talk about the King David Hotel, then I'm going to talk about this, but I didn't really have anything else to go off of. It's like I laid the foundation, but I didn't put up any walls to try to, keep this in line. And instead, I kind of went all over the place, right? So I think that's what I did. I think that's what, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Prior movements explicitly sought to form a secular Palestinian republic. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, this is a very complicated issue. And I think that me being the ignorant American I am, and someone that helps to provide, support to Israel, this and that in some way, I have to be very careful with how I speak about it. And that's another aspect as well. It goes kind of into the confidence of it. It's like, okay, what do I say without being, a little bit too, like I see myself as one of them when I know I'm not. It's one of those sorts of things. So I think that I tried what I could, and I kind of went off the rails. I didn't answer his questions as well as I should have, but I didn't want to give up that ground. That's how I felt about it. I didn't want to give up on that, and just that's my view of it anyway. But yeah, problem is that they were all formed, by exiles outside the country, and one sold out. Yeah, that happened too. Yeah. So I think that's where I stand on that. Yeah, I could have gone over the whole debate from the beginning, but I feel like, no, I don't have that type of stamina. I'm going to get to bed pretty early, so I think I'll try to end this pretty soon here. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? Is there anything else? Because I do have a video where I was talking a little bit about, I put out 2 videos recently talking about the coalition government a little bit more. Pretty much, admittedly, they're kind of the same thing, but I feel that if there's anything that, we want to talk about in terms of the new coalition government, this and that, I'm all ears. I'll give it a couple minutes, so I know it's going to be a moment. Let me sip some water. Sip some water. I feel a little bit better after taking a walk today. That's good. Anywho. Y'all doing okay tonight? Or at least tonight here, or morning, wherever you are in the world. Y'all doing okay? I think I'll close the door right quick. Yeah. Seculars selling out and Hamas operating from within the country gave more legitimacy to Islamists to the point where they got Christian support. Oh, really? Yeah. Let me ask you this while I have you here, Ishtaraki. Does Hezbollah actually have support from Christians in Lebanon to some degree? I just want to make sure, because I know that they'll say that Hezbollah will let in Sunnis, and they'll also have Christians as well. And I always kind of felt like that could have been maybe propaganda. So I just want to make sure on that. So I'll wait for a response. But that's just something curious from me. I'm not sure about that. Like I said, I just read a lot. Yeah, depends. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I figured it was complicated. I figured it wasn't just like they, in some cases they do, in other cases they don't. I imagine that there's, loyalties between different groups. Yeah, they have Christian fighters. Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured that was the case. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just kind of, and they defended Christians in Syria. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. That's why there's a lot of folks that, that are more Christian, and they aren't just, evangelists, this and that will support Hezbollah in the West because of that. And even in Eastern Europe as well. So that is an aspect. I think that's all I have to say. I appreciate everyone being here. I'll go through the chat here. It's been a while since I've done that. I don't know why I'm just wasting time, but I'll go ahead and do that to be polite. So thank you to Christian Dissident. Thank you, of course, to Ishtaraki. And Hello 99. And other Carl was in here for a little bit, so I appreciate that. I think that's about it, though. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and wrap up this. Oh, no, she's dead. Excuse me. So I'll do that. Yep. But thank you for sticking around here. And I think we'll go ahead and end it here. Let's go ahead and I think we're just going to go ahead and end it. That way I don't have the music. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed that. So see you later and goodbye.